What's good, YouTube? We're back with another video. Today we're reacting to what if Michael Jordan didn't take 5 years off. I've been gone for a while. I've been working on this movie for my class. I might post the behind the scenes on here. I still don't know, but I'll show y'all the link for it if you want to see it, if you really care. But right now, Michael Jordan didn't take 5 years off. I don't know what this is gonna be. I think one of y'all requested this in the comments. I don't think it changes anything. LeBron still go unanimously. Hopefully he wins against Curry this series. Yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Let's try and get this video to 100 likes. I never really do a like goal, so I was like, you know what, might as well try it. Let's try and get this video to 100 likes. And yeah, let's get into it.
We got numbers. What if Michael Jordan never took off 5 years? Where would that leave him in every major statistical category?
I guess this is like a podcast or something.
For both of that, some time off to play baseball, retirement. I'm still mad at him for both of that. He missed a number of games. How many games did he actually miss?
Yeah, so in 93, 94, he took off the whole season to play baseball. That was 82 games. He came back the next season for 17 games, so he missed 65. So for the baseball, he took off 147 games. And then with the retirement, the 98-99 season through the 2000-2001 season, he took off 3 full seasons or 246 games. So add that up, you got over almost 400 games.
Why is he taking off all of that? That's his fault.
No, MJ runs those numbers up. That's a lot of stats out the window. So if MJ played in those,
this is an if, by the way. He never did play those 400 games. He never will play those 400 games. Even if you come up with some crazy statistic, it never happened and it never will happen.
those 400 games, what do you think those numbers would look like?
We applied career averages to all those games, and then what we also did to be more reflective of how he was playing at each point in his career is when he took that 2 years off for baseball, we took his average from the year before and the average from the year after, and we did the same thing for his retirement period, those 3 years, and applied those to those games.
It's such a sin, man, because he was actually in the prime of his career. And a lot of these conversations, I feel, wouldn't be taking place today if he didn't do all that. But
yeah, when he took off those 2 years for baseball, people forget he had just won 3 straight championships, and he won 3 straight when he came back. So what could have happened in those 2 years? Instead of just he could have possibly gone 8-0 with 8 straight rings, which would have been unmatched.
well, who's gonna argue that he wouldn't? Argue with me, I dare you. Argue with me that he wouldn't have won 8 straight. You know what I mean? He won 3, took 2 off, came back, won another 3. So those 2 years in the middle, who's gonna knock him off? I seen something recently. He said he
Could have gotten injured. There's so many other things that could have happened. There's so many other things talking about he would have won every single. You don't know. Scottie Pippen could have said no. Anything could happen.
pride in keeping rings away from Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. There was a third guy, I don't remember who it was, but he locked a generation of superstars, of Hall of Famers from getting rings. Think about that. Locked them. Nobody eats while I'm here. We broke it down to the.
They say it like he didn't lose his first couple years in the league. They say 3 straight and 3 straight, like there's not other finals where he lost or didn't even get to because he got knocked out. But you know,
A bone bristle. We ran them numbers. Ryan was in the lab. Now tell us, where does those numbers that he missed, where does that put him in every major statistical category?
Yeah, so if you just take the 147 games that he missed during baseball and you apply those averages we talked about, it puts him 4th on the all-time scoring list, 3rd in all-time rebounds for a guard, 2nd all-time in steals, 1st all-time in blocked shots by a guard, and then it puts him anywhere from 30th to 32nd all-time in assists, which, you know, obviously that's a bigger drop-off. He was a shooting guard, but there's not many shooting guards above him when you apply those numbers, and that's just for the 2 years that he took off for baseball.
All right, so those are the 2 baseball years. Now give me those 3 retirement years.
All right, so if you forget about baseball, don't add those numbers in. just the retirement, and you do those averages, he's first all-time in points, just with those 3 seasons added, second all-time in rebounds by a guard, 20th to 23rd all-time in assists, second all-time in steals, and first all-time in blocks by a guard.
Whew. Now, wait. Question. Where does that put him on the list of scoring? It puts him first, but by how much over Kareem?
Not by much, just by very little. With just those 3 years, he'd just be over Kareem at this point.
Interesting. All right, now let's add all of that together. Where does that put him for his career?
All right. Both those periods, if he had not missed any time and he had played those games, he would have played 1,465 total games.
That's if he didn't miss a single game.
In points, he would have been first by over 5,000 points ahead of Kareem. In rebounds, he would have been first all time by a guard. Now, I will caveat that just saying, like, today's basketball is positionless. If you call LeBron a guard, he would have more rebounds than Jordan, for instance. But Jordan would be first from just a straight guard standpoint. In steals, if you take his career average, he would have just passed Stockton, been first on the all-time list. Wow. He'd be first all-time in blocks by a guard, I think by like over 150 blocks ahead of Dwayne Wade, who was next. And then on the assist list, he would have been 14th or 15th if you added in those 5 years. 14th or 15th all-time in assists, which I don't think most people would realize.
Well, put it in perspective. Where's John Stockton on that list?
On assists?
Yeah.
First.
He's first. So in between John Stockton, who is known to be the assist guy, that's what he's known for. There would be only 14 players between John Stockton, the greatest assist server in the NBA, and Michael Jordan. Hey, Ryan, you keep talking about steals, blocks. That sounds like defense to me.
Yeah, so people don't realize, but Jordan is the all-time leader, tied with 2 other players, in first team all defense. He's been there 9 times. He was first team all defensive selection, and only 2 other players have matched that.
Who's that?
Gary Payton, who obviously the glove, he's been a defensive stalwart for his entire career, and Kobe.
Ooh, Kobe too.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would have thought it was Rodman. Rodman was a 7-time selection all-time defensive first team, and then LeBron's 5-time, but only the 3 of them, Peyton, Kobe, and Jordan, were 9-time first team selections.
Kobe was 9-time.
And that's not even known for his repertoire. He's the scoring champ.
Yeah, I mean, he was what, 10-time scoring leader and 9-time first team all defense. He wasn't taking breaks on either side of the ball, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, because you're the 10-time scoring champ, it overshadows defense. He don't get the credit. The glove, we know the glove is locked down. When you think the glove, you think of Gary Payton, you think of defense. But now you got to think, when you think of defense, you got to think of Michael Jordan too.
If Michael Jordan hadn't taken off 5 years in the prime of his career and still a high performing time of his career, would this debate that we have look any different? I think that's the question, you know.
There you have it. You guys all know how I feel. 6 out of 8 years. If he didn't take off those 2, it probably would have been 8 in a row. And
if your argument is based off an if, it's not a logical argument.
I'm standing on that. And now with these numbers here, put those extra 1,000 games and change in the mix in the all-time list, and it's pretty clear. There's pretty much no argument. Who's the greatest? Who's the GOAT? I don't want to hear all that other talk. It's not for me. I know who the best is. I witnessed it. And if you grew up like we grew up, you've seen the greatest player, the greatest competitor of our time completely dominate a total era without any question.
A total era. An era of what? 6 seasons? LeBron has been in this shit. Let me calm down. Let me let the old head cook.
I've seen anyone look at this debate, the GOAT debate, in this way. And I think it does answer some questions. Now, obviously, you could look at, okay, LeBron's missed some games for injuries or sat out, and everybody misses some games, but I don't think that's the same as taking off 2 years in the midst of your prime, 3 years when you're still competing at a very high level. And he could have kept going through those periods, right? I think had he done that and this had been the results, I don't think there's any question at that point about greatest of all time, because first in points by over 5,000, LeBron's averaging 27 a game this year. He would have to play the remainder of this season and 2 more seasons to catch Jordan averaging 27 a game, which would be quite an accomplishment. But still, I think to be first in all-time points by over 5,000, to be first in rebounds by a guard, top 15 in assists, first, maybe second in steals, but right there, and first all-time in blocks by a guard, potentially with, let's call it 8 rings. The next 3 he's not going to win, let's say, but let's say 8 rings, to be 8-0 in the finals, to be a 9-time all-defensive first-team selection, 10-time scoring champ. I don't know that you can argue much from there.
I'm just talking on this beat, like it's just you and just me. We can say it side out of